Greetings, Earth Explorers. Welcome to X Squared Radio, where the past meets the future. I'm your host, Brooks Agnew. In here, the results are always positive. We explore the mysteries of the universe and of the Earth. Whether you are driving across the country tonight or listening on the web while you're working on your favorite project, you are about to learn more about who we are, why we are here, and what we may become than you thought possible. We might go a little past your imagination, but have no fear. You will be safely traveling with us. Keep your arms inside the vehicle, recline your chair, and look out the window as we launch X Squared Radio. And welcome, Earth Explorers from all around the planet. We're here coming to you live from North Carolina. Our AccuWindow forecast, about 85 degrees and clear. The solar wind is a stout 310.5 kilometers per second. Sunspot 1106, which is actually old Sunspot 1100, is gaining new life and shows potential of C-class flares, so be aware of that. High-latitude sky watchers should be alert for auroras on probably tonight and tomorrow night. That's when a coronal mass ejection is expected to deliver a glancing blow to Earth's magnetic field. NOAA forecasters estimate a 30% chance of geomagnetic activity during the next 24 hours. The source of the incoming CME is a magnetic filament on the sun, which erupted during the late hours of September 10th. Shortly after the filament erupted, the plasma sea underneath it seemed to open a fiery red fissure. This is a common manifestation of explosions on the sun. In the aftermath of a flare, magnetic loops form over the blast site. Hot plasma sliding down the sides of these loops hits the stellar surface, creating a light show that resembles a parting of the Red Sea. There were an average of 23 quakes in the last 24 hours, with 3 of them larger than 5.0. They're between 40 and 175 kilometers below the surface of the Earth. Economists peddling dire warnings that the world's #1 economy is on the brink of collapse amid high rates of unemployment and a spiraling public deficit are flourishing here. The guru of this doomsday line of thinking may be economist Nouriel Roubini, thrust into the forefront after predicting the chaos wrought by the subprime mortgage crisis and the collapse of the housing bubble. He says the U.S. has run out of bullets, as he told an economic forum in Italy earlier this month. Any shock at this point can tip you back into recession, he says. Boston University professor Lawrence Kotikoff unveiled a doomsday scenario, which many dismiss as pure fantasy, of an economic clash between superpowers, the United States and China, which holds more than $843 billion of U.S. Treasury bonds. By the way, the U.K. holds almost that much, Japan right behind it. He says a minor trade dispute between the United States and China could make some people think that other people are going to sell U.S. Treasury bonds. He wrote in the IMF's Finance and Development Review, that belief, coupled with major concern about inflation, could lead to a sell-off of government bonds that causes the public to withdraw their bank deposits and buy durable goods. We are bombarded by advice to do just that. There are at least 5 buy gold commercials an hour in the U.S. right now. Kotikoff warns that such a move would spark a run on the banks and money market funds, as well as insurance companies, as policyholders cash in their surrender values. In a short period of time, the Federal Reserve would have to print trillions of dollars to cover its explicit and implicit guarantees. All that new money could produce strong inflation, perhaps hyperinflation, he said. Gee, isn't that a little like what the administration is doing right now? printing money 24 hours a day. Interesting. I want to remind you that Remembering the Future is now available on Kindle. This is our first attempt at Kindle, so we're Kindle gardeners. So if you read books without using paper, you can do so by going to Amazon, looking for the book as a Kindle version, or by clicking the link at rememberingthefuturebook.com. We also have the link up at x2radio.com. And the book went out in print in Amazon yesterday. So if you bought the ebook, we will send you a coupon code for 25% off. I'm working on the audio version this week. You'll get a copy of that as well. By the way, the ebook special is going to end next Sunday. So if you like ebooks, you can download it now. At least you get all the graphics that I created in color. And you also get 25% off the printed version, and you get the audio version. So it's a pretty good deal. Before we get to our guest tonight, I wanted to let you know that robotics has made a breakthrough. Scientists have actually made artificial skin. Biotech wizards have engineered electronic skin that can sense touch in a major step toward next-generation robotics. And they say prosthetic limbs. The lab-tested material responds to almost the same pressures as human skin and with the same speed. Important hurdles remain, but the exploit is an advance toward replacing today's clumsy robots and artificial arms with smarter, touch-sensitive upgrades, they believe. No, it's not Cyberdyne Systems, but it sure sounds like a lot of fun. We might have robots a lot smarter and a lot more able in our real world than you might think. We'll be back in 40 seconds, a couple more notes, and then our guest. We've got a very, very interesting subject matter tonight. Don't go away. 40 seconds more, X2 Radio after this.
The spice extends life. The spice expands consciousness. The spice is vital to space travel.
As we head into hurricane season and then into winter, you're going to be traveling, you're going to be moving about the country. We want you to be prepared. Our friends at 1-800-PREPARE.com have put together well-packaged, well-priced, and rapid shipping on emergency preparedness supplies. Don't be a burden on emergency support staff like FEMA and your local police, fire departments, and emergency response teams. Prepare yourself. Take care of your own. Take care of maybe a neighbor, some friends, your grandkids. 1-800-PREPARE.com. As we look out into space, it doesn't take much of a jump for us to realize, even mainstream people are now saying we're not alone. Now, what the nature of that not aloneness really is probably isn't very well accepted. Some people think that there are races living here on the Earth. Some people think we're being visited regularly by UFOs. Some people think that even ancient civilizations linger on in small numbers and high technology, sort of hiding just out of the view of people. I watched a video in preparing for tonight's program. Spanish fishermen out on the ocean, and they could hear jets overhead, and the jets peeled down to low altitude. 2 jets flying in formation very, very fast, and ahead of them was another craft that they were chasing, and they got their video camera, started filming, and realized that the craft they were chasing wasn't from around here. And then all of a sudden the craft turned down and dove straight into the water, making a huge splash, and the 2 jets went ripping across the sky above where that craft had gone in the water, and then, of course, tried to make a very high-speed turn, which takes a couple of miles for a jet. In the meantime, a military helicopter came down within 100 feet of the water and hovered around the same area. It was clear that this craft was being pursued, and these Spanish fishermen had caught it on film. Something is going on under the oceans of our planet. You know, the oceans make up, probably pretty close to 5/7 the surface of the Earth. And yet we know very little about our oceans. We have our seaways that we travel, and ships have done this for hundreds of years, perhaps thousands of years. But most of the ocean is relatively untraveled. It certainly is unmapped. And beneath the waves, a few hundred feet, it's pretty mysterious to us. We don't have ships that can cruise down at 2,000 or 3,000 feet. And we have areas, most of the ocean is 3,000 or 4,000 meters deep, well below where we can detect. Now, we can surmise, we can take images from space, we can do infrared photography, we can do some sonar work. But I've got to tell you that sonar work is very difficult to do. You have to have your detector right down against the bottom. And there just aren't 3,000 meter long cables that you can drag along the bottom and get reliable information. You can a few hundred feet, maybe even 1,000 feet if the bottom is well known. It's been done off the coast of Cuba a little bit, down around 3,500 feet. But this only takes a swath about a few hundred yards wide. Do you know how long it would take to map the sea floor a few hundred yards at a time? It's just not practical, which means our ocean floors are somewhat of a mystery to us. We don't really know what's down there. And if there are civilizations living here from other worlds, or old societies or civilizations left over from dynasties past, zeniths past, that's probably where they're sitting, because they're sure not sitting out on the plains of Kansas. They're not sitting out in the outback of Australia. They're probably underwater. And our guest tonight is an expert on that. He has collected probably more information about underwater bases and underwater civilizations, be they off-world or even secret government, than just about anybody else. I want you to welcome with me Richard Sauder. Welcome to the program, Richard.
Thank you, Brooks. I'm happy to be here.
Well, you know, I'm so curious about this. X Squared Radio is a scientific talk radio program. At least that's the way we try to keep ourselves in the mainstream. And we have listeners from all over the world. Most listen by archive, but some are listening tonight live as far away as Japan and Australia and Wales and Canada and Florida and Mexico. And they're really curious about this subject, as am I. So I think this 3 hours is going to go very, very fast. Let's try to take the 10,000-foot view first. We'll just kind of go up above the Earth, look at the Earth from 10,000 feet, which isn't really that high, but we don't really know what's beneath the surface of our oceans and our world, do we?
Well, some things are known. We have to, first of all, I think, define our terms and start with the word we. What is meant by we? If you mean the general public, then yes,